Third time I've got to record this bad boy because my audio kept corrupting. But anyway, hey guys, Diavolo here and welcome back to the spoilers that have just dropped for Tokyo Revengers chapter 233. If you guys are new around here and want to keep up to date with the latest Tokyo Revengers spoilers and just other anime content in general, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with the algorithm and pushes my stuff to a bunch of new amazing people. Plus, it would really help out with how my channel's been recently with getting striked by someone illegitimately and everything. It'll really help with pushing my channel back out into the algorithm. But yeah, anyway, enough of that. Let's get into this pretty much chapter in a little bit of a way. We've got 4 or 5 panels here that are absolutely insane. But anyway, so because this is my third time recording this, I should obviously know what happens completely and utterly throughout this chapter by now. But starting off, or at least I think this is kind of towards the start of the chapter, I'm suspecting that maybe we'll have a panel kind of showing Toranno and Mikey's back, kind of why Takemichi is screaming out Mikey's name, trying to get his attention away from Toranno some more, obviously because that's how we ended the last chapter that we were just on, 331 or 332. So I'm assuming that's at least how the chapter's going to start. We don't get the first page, but I think we probably get the second or third page. And it starts out by saying, or at least I think it starts out by saying, from Mikey, he says, "You again," to Takemichi, probably referring to all the screaming that he's been making either at the start of this chapter or right at the end of last chapter. And Takemichi replies to him saying, "This isn't good, it's wrong." So obviously referring to, what's going on, why Mikey is losing, everything in the first place. Does he even know what exactly has happened with Draken and all that kind of stuff? But Takemichi doesn't really even get any time to explain anything, or use, I guess, his talk no jutsu in some kind of way, as in an extremely reminiscent way to how Kazutora was also punched in that kind of initial start to Mikey and Kazutora's fight. Mikey punches Takemichi literally in the exact same way across the side of the face, sending him, flying backwards onto the ground. But we'll get to that panel in a little bit there. I think a lot of stuff kind of reflects, again, the Kazutora Valhalla arc moment with when Mikey almost lost it and killed someone back then, except now with more Mikey and South, because obviously last week we had the panel with Mikey standing over South that kind of reminded us a little bit of when he stood over Kazutora and Takemichi's, past vision of a previous timeline that didn't exactly happen, but one that almost did in this timeline that he's in right now, one that happened in the past where, Kazutora was beaten to a pulp, but he didn't die this time. And so, from obviously Takemichi getting hit in the face by Mikey here, I think Mikey grabs him by the scuff of his, t-shirt or shirt or whatever, and this is kind of where it leads into this next panel here, which shows us, I'm not sure what the exact text is given there, so if anyone does know, be sure to chuck it down in the comment section below and let me know, because I'd absolutely love to know. I'm assuming this is what Takemichi is thinking while he's getting hit by Mikey, or possibly even Mikey's thoughts, or even Senju's thoughts while she's watching this, because as we can see, she's watching literally Takemichi get beaten to a pulp by Mikey, from probably where she got thrown to the ground, or from where she was getting up. And pretty much, Takemichi crying is getting completely beaten to a pulp by Mikey, to the point that I think he even loses consciousness and actually falls to the ground while Mikey is holding him, or loses the footing that he has on his legs and collapses. And then Mikey, with a final punch, like I just said before, hits him again and sends him even further this time, flying back across the concrete, or at least that's kind of what I'm suspecting has happened, and we missed a panel in between there, or even possibly it went straight from that initial punch that Mikey did to him holding Takemichi's collar and then beating him up. There could be a panel in between, but there might not also be a panel in between. And then obviously from that punch, or that final punch that we had of Takemichi falling to the ground, I assume it goes over to this next panel that we have here, or this next, page that we have here, with Takemichi flying across the ground and then finally, obviously landing in one space. But you see Mikey's glare that he has towards Takemichi, or towards Coco. It's either one of the two. I'm not 100% sure who it's towards. It could be Mikey glaring back at Takemichi as Takemichi, goes flying back, or it could be him simply glaring back to Coco and the rest of the people, that know him or he knows, and kind of giving him that evil glare to not get involved in the fight and just stay back. And obviously you can see Coco is looking kind of concerned with how things are playing out so far. And then I think this is the very last panel that we've been given. The very final panel shows us, which is most likely the panel after the one that we just had before, Mikey following up on Takemichi, who we just thrown across or punched across the parking lot, following up and then pummeling down on top of him, and pretty much, you know, like going into that exact same state that he was in when he tried to kill Kazutora in that one timeline, like I just said before, except now it's happening here with Takemichi himself instead of south, like it was going to happen in the future side that Takemichi just had. There's been so many like reiterations to that like similar moment from in the past when Takemichi saved Kazutora from death. So I'm wondering if is it hinting at that possibility of Kazutora playing a big part in this arc. I know that is obviously, for me, I want that to happen because it'll play into my theory that I have with Kazutora being a big part in this arc, but obviously we just really don't know at the moment. I've got a few theories and like a few ideas on what I possibly think could happen with like who may show up, or how like the next chapter is going to play out exactly, or even what happens after this point in the chapter. The last kind of info that we are given at all is that the sound effects coming off this final punch, or these punches that Mikey is hitting on Takemichi, is like a crunching sound effect, which is not too good when you think about it. It's pretty damn bad when you actually think about it. So I really hope Takemichi is able to like endure through this, to the point that maybe Coco can even step up and stand in front of Mikey and try and protect Takemichi, because I'm sure deep down he values Takemichi as a friend and wouldn't want this to actually happen, and wouldn't want to see Mikey, you know, like fall this low that he even kills Takemichi, as that is something that I'm sure Mikey would never want to do. Like Mikey would probably kill himself in full seriousness after this moment if he realized what he had done, because I'm imagining he's like a blind person at the moment. While he's shrouded in darkness, he can't see what he is doing, and he's like a child. He's just kind of lashing out. He's like an animal. He's just kind of lashing out at all that's around him to try and, you know, protect himself, possibly. That could be a thought, and the darkness is just kind of this thing he wraps himself in when stuff starts to go wrong, because that's his coping mechanism. That's what he seemed to have learnt over time, or at least that's kind of what I'm hinting at. Because at least we got to see like these jaws of like darkness closing over his eyes as he went to beat up Kikucho. So that's kind of how I'm feeling things are going ahead, especially with the white-eyed Mikey and how he's acting compared to his normal, you know, dark, deep eyes that he normally has. So it's extremely interesting. And I'm wondering what's going to happen towards the end of this chapter. If this is, you know, only towards the beginning of it, we could have, you know, at least 10 more pages of what happens throughout this chapter. That would be giving us 14 odd pages, and that would be an extremely short one, probably the shortest that we've had in months on months. So yeah, I would imagine that a lot is going to happen throughout this chapter that we don't know yet. I'd say that South has probably got a part to play in this chapter as well, probably at the beginning before it goes into this Takemichi thing, because we don't get the exact, you know, like we don't get the intro panel or the opening panel to the chapter. We don't see, you know, the Tokyo Revengers symbol. So unless this is a complete fan art and it's completely clickbaited everyone in the Tokyo Revengers community, then I would say that this is, you know, 100% confirmed spoilers, and it looks like Takemichi is in a bit of a tight spot. He's started his campaign to be that boxing bag, all right, and it does not look like it's playing out too well. I don't know if his durability is going to honestly be able to hold up to Mikey here. Like, Mikey looks like he's knocked him out and is just beating him up while he's knocked out now. But yeah, anyway, I'd love to know what you guys all think down in the comment section below, as this has been mind-blowing. I'm so happy to be back finally after like 3 weeks now. Most of a month not being able to upload was extremely painful, and something that I hope never happens again or never have to go through again. But anyway, enough of that. If you are new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to leave a like on the video as well, as it'll really help out with the algorithm and push my stuff to a bunch of new amazing people. But anyway, for now, it's been your professional degenerate, Diavolo, and I will see you all in a bit. Bye.